Balut. A balut is a fertilized duck egg containing a partially developed embryo, boiled and eaten whole, shell, broth, yolk, and the duck inside. It has been eaten in the Philippines for centuries as street food, sold from carts at night markets for less than $1. The embryo is typically 16 to 18 days developed. Feathers are forming, the beak is visible. Anthony Bourdain called it one of the most challenging foods he ever ate on camera. Fear Factor used it as an elimination challenge. Filipinos eat it daily without drama. The most shocking food on Western television is someone else's Tuesday night snack.
Geoduck. Geoduck is the largest burrowing clam in the world, and it looks exactly like what you think it looks like. The shell can weigh over 2 kilograms. The siphon extending from it can reach 1 meter in length. It lives buried up to 1 meter underground in the Pacific Northwest and can live for over 150 years. A single geoduck sells for up to $150 at American seafood markets. In Chinese restaurants, it is sliced thin and served raw as sashimi or in hot pot. The oldest geoduck ever recorded was 168 years old. Americans are uncomfortable eating it. Pacific Northwest fishermen have been harvesting it for centuries without caring what anyone thinks.
Beef brains. Beef brains were a delicacy in French cuisine for centuries and appeared on American restaurant menus without controversy until 1986, when the British BSE crisis linked bovine brain consumption to variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans. The FDA banned beef brains from cattle over 30 months old in 2004. The market collapsed overnight. Before the ban, scrambled eggs and brains was a standard breakfast dish in the American Midwest, particularly in Missouri and Arkansas. A prion disease in British cattle permanently ended a regional American breakfast tradition. The dish existed on American tables for generations and disappeared within a single food safety announcement.
Surströmming. Surströmming is fermented Baltic herring that has been a Swedish tradition since the 16th century, when salt was expensive and partial fermentation was used to preserve fish with less salt than full curing required. The fish is fermented in barrels for months before being canned. Fermentation continues inside the sealed can, which bulges visibly from the pressure of gases produced by the bacteria. Opening a can of surströmming indoors is considered socially unacceptable in Sweden. It is opened outside, downwind, often while leaning away from the can. The smell has been measured as one of the most putrid of any food on Earth in scientific odor studies. Airlines have banned it from flights. Germany banned it from apartment buildings. Sweden considers it a national delicacy and eats it every August at dedicated surströmming parties. A fish that smells like a biological hazard is the centerpiece of an annual Swedish celebration.
Southern chitterlings. Chitterlings, colloquially shortened to chitlins, are the small intestines of a pig, requiring an intense multi-hour cleaning process of picking and scrubbing that families pass down. American soul food has perfected them for centuries in slow-simmered vinegar preparations. Each pig provides a limited yield, meaning a single holiday platter requires significant livestock. The grueling labor involved in cleaning and stewing them is reflected in the price today. Originally a survival food of enslaved people, they are now a prized cultural delicacy.
Blood clams. Blood clams get their name from the red hemoglobin-rich fluid inside them, which resembles blood when the shell is opened. They're consumed raw across Southeast Asia, particularly in China and Vietnam. Blood clams filter water at a higher rate than most shellfish, which means they accumulate pathogens from their environment more efficiently. They've been linked to outbreaks of hepatitis A, typhoid, and dysentery in regions where they are harvested from polluted waters. Shanghai banned the sale of blood clams in 1988 after a hepatitis A outbreak infected 300,000 people and killed 47. A shellfish consumed raw across Asia was responsible for one of the largest hepatitis outbreaks in history.
Frog legs have been eaten in China for over 2,000 years and in France since at least the 12th century. France is most closely associated with the dish internationally, though China and Southeast Asia consume far more frog legs annually. In the United States, frog legs are a regional specialty in Louisiana and the American South, where bullfrogs are harvested from swamps and bayous. The meat is white, mild, and often compared to chicken, though the texture is closer to fish. Indonesia is currently the world's largest exporter of frog legs, shipping primarily to France and Belgium. Tripe. Tripe is the stomach lining of a cow and has been eaten across every culture that raises cattle for as long as cattle have been raised. It requires hours of cleaning, blanching, and slow cooking before it becomes edible. The result is a texture unlike any other meat, chewy and gelatinous simultaneously, that absorbs the flavor of whatever it is cooked with more completely than muscle meat ever does. Menudo in Mexico, tripa alla romana in Italy, and andouillette in France all use tripe as their central ingredient. Every culture that found it inconvenient to throw away a stomach discovered independently that it was worth keeping.
FUGU. FUGU is a Japanese pufferfish that contains tetrodotoxin, a neurotoxin 1,200 times more deadly than cyanide, with no known antidote. A single fish contains enough poison to kill 30 people. Japanese chefs must train for a minimum of 3 years and pass a government examination before they are legally permitted to prepare it. The exam has a failure rate of approximately 70%. The liver, ovaries, and skin contain the highest concentrations of toxin and are illegal to serve in Japan. Approximately 50 people die from fugu poisoning annually, almost always from improperly prepared fish obtained outside licensed restaurants. A fish whose preparation requires a government license and can still kill you is served as a delicacy across Japan every winter. CASU MARZU. CASU MARZU is a Sardinian sheep's milk cheese that contains live maggots. The cheese is made by allowing pecorino to ferment beyond normal aging, then introducing cheese flies whose larvae digest the fats and produce a soft, creamy texture with a sharp flavor that regular pecorino cannot achieve. The maggots are translucent, approximately 8 millimeters long, and still alive when the cheese is eaten. Some people remove them before eating. Most Sardinians consider this unnecessary. The European Union banned CASU MARZU for sale in 2002 on food safety grounds. Sardinia continued making it anyway under traditional food protections. A cheese that requires live insects to exist is illegal in most of Europe and considered a cultural treasure in the region that invented it.
Pig trotters. Pig trotters are the feet, composed almost entirely of skin, cartilage, tendons, and bone with almost no actual meat. They contain more gelatin than any other cauda animal. Simmered for hours, they produce a collagen-rich broth that sets solid when cooled. Chinese braised pig trotters, German Eisbein, and the French fromage de tête all use trotters as their central ingredient. Fergus Henderson at St. John Restaurant in London serves pig trotters stuffed with chicken and pistachio as one of his signature dishes. A cut with essentially no meat became the foundation of some of the most technically demanding dishes in classical European cooking.
Century egg. Century eggs are not 100 years old. They are preserved for weeks to months in a mixture of clay, ash, salt, quicklime, and rice hulls, which raises the pH dramatically and transforms the egg through an alkaline chemical reaction, rather than fermentation. The white becomes a translucent dark brown jelly. The yolk turns gray-green and creamy. The smell is strongly sulfuric. The flavor is intensely savory, with a complexity that fresh eggs cannot produce. Century eggs have been eaten in China for over 600 years. Western food media consistently ranks them among the most challenging foods in the world. Chinese cuisine uses them in congee, tofu dishes, and as a standalone appetizer. A chemical transformation that looks alarming produces a flavor that requires no apology.
ACKEE. ACKEE is the national fruit of Jamaica and is served daily across the country in the national dish, ackee and saltfish. It is also capable of causing Jamaican vomiting sickness, which leads to hypoglycemia severe enough to cause coma and death. The toxin, hypoglycin A, is concentrated in the areoles surrounding the seeds and in unripe fruit. And ripe ackee opens naturally on the tree, revealing safe yellow flesh. An ackee that has not opened naturally is not ready and must never be forced open or eaten. The United States banned ackee imports for years due to the poisoning risk. Jamaica's national fruit requires the fruit itself to signal when it is safe to eat. Blood sausage. Blood sausage exists in every culture that raises animals for meat. Britain has black pudding, Spain has morcilla, France has boudin noir, Germany has blutwurst, the Philippines has dinuguan. Every culture independently discovered that cooking blood with fat and grain inside a casing produced something edible, filling, and flavorful. Blood is rich in iron and protein. The iron content is what gives blood sausage its distinctive metallic edge that first-time eaters either embrace immediately or do not. Black pudding became a contestant on the Great British Bake Off as a pastry filling in 2016, and the resulting controversy generated more viewer responses than any other episode that season.